struggles I'm having with the youth from Mathare, 80% of them, then they have an opportunity of speaking with me, they immediately asking for a handout. And I've said, guy, you have a chance of pitching a problem and a solution that you have to me, which I can now be able to take to all sorts of people who can help you. And the first thing you're asking me for is a handout. I'm not going to listen to you.
Yeah.
Come and show me the value that you're bringing to this situation.
Provide a solution.
Provide a solution. And we already have a format for you to do that, so that you're not talking for 5 hours all over the place and you can't actually talk about. There's a specific format. Have you used that format? Can you tell me what the problem is? What is the solution? What is your methodology? What are your needs? Whether it's in terms of resources, and those resources might be human capital, cash, whatever it is. And can you do it on one page? So some people don't want to write it, but they want to come and give you long stories in your face. And then others want to appeal to your emotions, And then others, I'm sorry to say, want to come and appeal to you with their sex appeal. And then look at you and smile at you. And, we don't have time for that kind of thing. This is mazee. Tumeona hivi mambo yote. Kwani unazidi kunionyesha nini? So with all due respect, with all due respect, when those skills are learned, when those skills are taught at a greater level, when people understand how to pinpoint what it is and they realize that they need to think critically in solving those problems, not sitting back and waiting for others. And then when people take leadership, so that if you're one person, and some of my young people who've gotten scholarships are examples of that, you have an 18-year-old who is going and leading a team of 20, 30 people, some of whom are my age. By the time you can be able to leverage your leadership in that manner, you will get the resources eventually. Yes. You might knock on one door today, another door today, another door tomorrow, and they refuse. But somewhere down the line, because you're learning persistence, you will be able to find the persons who are going to do that. Because now you've also understood how to target and delimit where you're going to actually seek the resources that you're looking for. Yeah. As I said, Matiang'i A students, I spoke to them for every year, and I challenged them, guys, please, within the next 2 weeks, I want you guys to give me a proposal that I can take to Dr. Vimalsha or to Dr. James Mwangi. How many responses would I get every year? Guess?
One.
Okay. You?
Maybe 0.
Maybe. Any?
I would say 0.
Well, yeah, exactly. I get 0.
And Julius, the reason why I'm also happy about this, Jake Nkari from Google came here 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
He challenged some young techies and all that.
The same way.
That if they think they're the best in their game, to call him, to email, he'll give them a job immediately. So far, nobody has taken him up.
Now look at
and they'll be given a salary in the 6-figure.
Yeah.
This is serious.
Yeah. So you see, one of the key things about leadership and mentorship is to train you to aspire higher. So when Dr. Vimalsha gives his time for our youth, and we have one of our mentoring future leaders sessions, days, this guy will come to the auditorium in Bidco at 7 a.m. He's coming 1 hour before us, guys. Some stupid kids are going to be walking in at 9:30, 10.
Serious.
And we're starting at 8. They're walking in an hour and a half late. This is a billionaire here who's ready, willing, and able to engage with you guys. You're walking in an hour and a half late. I still remember one time one girl came in at 11. Okay? And I know because utazuuliwa kwa gate. And so the gate guys are calling me. Kuna mtoto wako hapa kuja uchukue. So I have to leave the auditorium to go and get the kid, because they are not going to let a kid get into the factory.
Yes, it's a factory.
Yes. Okay. So I have to go there and physically get someone who sees nothing wrong with walking in at 11. Okay. You have a chance of touching a billionaire's, the hem of his garment, catching his attention, and you have nothing of value to tell him. How are we going to help you in that kind of a situation? We can't help you. So if you choose not to be a critical thinker and a problem solver, if you just want to entertain yourself with TikTok all the time and all the other things that people are doing, so be it. As the scripture says, Galatians 6:9-10, do not be deceived. God will not be mocked. What a person sows, that they will reap. So we want kids to begin to understand that you need to sow in hard work.
Africa's problems are big.
Not going to church at 11 p.m. to beat drums until 5 a.m. and then you go and sleep and then assume that everything is going to work. It's not going to work that way. You need to actually roll up your sleeves. Because if you are in an African continent, if you're on the African continent and you're in an African context, the problems are immense.
There are many.
They're all over you. Think.
We are late in the party already.
Yeah, we
In
already late in
fact,
the party.
Africa is an entrepreneur's paradise.
Paradise. Yeah.
And so people need to.
I have a question even as we are on that line, and I think there's also another question you'll answer from MK. But is it a problem of us not engaging people in human-centered design and that could be maybe you can speak about that.
We don't actually have what they call at Stanford design thinking, or even when we come up with solutions, they're not human-centered. So we just hypothetically, because we see garbage there, we think collecting it is a solution. But that's not a solution in the long run, and actually doesn't make anyone money. But if we see a garbage and we see electricity and we see fertilizer and we see things to do with recycling and rebuilding some of those materials, then that's a lot of opportunities. So, and I feel, well, I might be privileged to have sat down with some of those guys who formulate these kind of things. And that's why sometimes when I engage with guys who are younger than me on my age mates, I don't blame them so much, because I also think some of them are not exposed. And I've come to realize, I was thinking at that line that, you guys, why are you not getting it? But I sat down and realized that if you're not in the universities around Nairobi, leave alone even going out there, right? Rarely will you be exposed to some of these things or these conversations. And you don't expect someone to travel all the way from Kisii University to Nairobi for maybe a 3-hour event. Even resource-wise, they're starved. The or the Education Loan Board approved some of those loans late when these people are too much into debt. So you have to be cognizant of that, because when you go out there, you'll find so talented, so skilled people. But now they have not been exposed. And after maybe realizing that, I've tried to do a couple of things with a couple of my friends, and that has become a game changer, where people are building real solutions, real time. And we approach it in one way. Maybe there are several ways to do it. Like we say, you just need a laptop and good internet, or moderate internet, and then you open the door to the world. So you can research things like to do with like HCI, human-centered interfaces. When you're building something, you can have a design thinking. There are playbooks there to show you how to go around this. And that actually has changed the way even they learn. Because at the end of the day, you're not just going to school to pass exam. You're going to school actually to understand, how can I use this knowledge to build a solution? So you might be surprised by the over time. And this, because I do it for free, I ask them, like, if I do this for free and I give you for free, for me, it's not free, because I'm giving you my time that I'll never get back in my life. So the only way you can pay this is do this to someone else, maybe in primary school, or primary school. You understand? And if we all do this and approach from the empathetic point of view, I think we can change the dynamics.
Now, my challenge with that is, you see, on the ACAD way, one of the things that they all have to do, especially the high school kids and especially the gap year kids, is that they all have to go back to their former high school and former primary and give a motivational talk based on their life. Now, as and when I have a simple group of 15 people that I'm specifically working with, and I require them to do that, guess how many actually go back to their former high school and former primary school and do that out of 15? And these are people I'm meeting every week, and I'm engaging weekly. Every week for the core training, again during the week for our field activities and other communications that are going on. Guess how many actually do that? I'll just give you, on average.
Maybe 2?
2, exactly. Out of 15. So now, this is why when you see the transition figures of those who now go to the top university, it will be those people.
It will reflect the number of people who took you serious.
They have chosen to give back, paying it forward, and in the process they start learning, some of these leadership things I'm talking about. They learn how to communicate in a manner in which your audience can understand what you're saying. If you're speaking to primary school kids, you've got to lower the bar a little bit. If you're speaking to the high school kids, you got to do this. And sometimes and there were, over the weekend, there were some who were complaining about that. They were saying that when they were in high school, I actually took them not only to university students, I took them to my MBA classes. And guys are saying, man, I was in Form 3. How do you have me become a co-teacher with you in your MBA class? I said, well, I have taught you how to communicate, and there was a point I wanted you to teach. That was Brian was complaining. from 3, but I'm speaking to MBA classes.
Yeah. So they have the access of knowledge that an MBA person or PhD person has. So
Yes.
they have no reason not to use it.
Exactly.
In other words,
And for me, it worked both ways, because when now my students who are in the MBA, who were, guess what, at that time were 40 plus, are being taught by a 15-year-old.
It's a different game.
That's a whole.
My
right? Yeah.
goodness, Daktari Bana. A, you're insulting us, but B, your point is home. Okay?
Yeah.
You're insulting us because this one here is younger than my children.
Yeah.
So how can you bring this person as a guest, whatever, to teach me? But the point is that knowledge does not matter on the age. And when my kids at 15 can be able to teach 40-year-olds, what do you think that does in terms of their confidence? So bottom line is that when we have those two who are stepping out,
Exactly.
the world it even gives them more and more opportunities.
Yes. Reverend, do you know what they say even about Jesus Christ? He couldn't save everyone.
Exactly.
So at the end of it all, you just need those two, but
Yes.
with high impact, because that shows you that over time, this high impact will multiply.
Yes.
And that's what we need anyway, because if Jesus himself couldn't,
Yes.
on a lighter note, you know what I mean.
I am totally
But
with
I
you.
want you to speak on these two things that I think, even today as we speak, they are really deterrent of how we can be able to achieve our maximum potential. There is a FGM which you have worked on and tried to do a bit of work on it. And there is HIV/AIDS, which is still a problem even in some of our African countries. And I know you have been in Botswana and they have done an amazing job around that.
Yeah.
Maybe what could you say?
Just to
about
give context, there are like 26 million people living with HIV and AIDS.
Okay.
6 million live in the 5 continents of the world that are not Africa.
Yeah.
19
Here in Africa.
live in Africa.
Yeah.
Yes.
And even most of them live in East, Central, and Sub-Saharan Africa. It's crazy.
Now, sadly, that also has to do with our attitudes. It has to do with our paradigms. It has to do with our beliefs. Because if you'll forgive me for again appearing to attack the church of which I am ordained by,
Says the Reverend.
some of us will now go and indulge in funny things like that with all due respect, and then think that you just go and pray and everything is going to be right. There are consequences to choices. Okay, and some of those consequences are not going to allow you to escape from your irresponsibility. So part number one, as I say, in terms of our paradigms, in terms of our attitudes, in terms of our beliefs, we think we can get away with murder simply because you're going to church at 11 p.m. and beaten drums until 5 a.m. That is not how it works. We need to be able to understand the direct cause and effect relationship, especially on issues of health. If you don't understand cause and effect and you want to introduce spirituality in between to resolve the bad causes, the effects will always follow you. So, for example, when I was now in Botswana, with all due respect, the citizens were rather generous in some of those areas relative to other people. In fact, for handsome young men like you'll be being hunted down by the women. Okay?
It's their culture.
It's their culture. So you are literally hunted down by the women. And guess what? You like this young man here, you'll be in trouble.
He's already in trouble.
He's already in trouble.
in Kenya.
Okay. So attitudes. And then we're mixing spirituality in it. And then we have preachers who are now giving you false hope. Selling concoctions of do this and pay
The
this.
Kitile mentality.
Yes. It is a shame.
I have a question, actually.
Yes.
The church has always avoided talking about safe sex, condoms, and things like that. Do you think it's part of the fuel that's growing the denial? Because really, it's affecting. It's affecting a lot of young people. It's affecting a lot of. It's crazy. How can you have almost 80% of the people affected by HIV living on one continent in a world with 6 continents?
Well, as I said, the church
It's crazy.
is a powerful platform for speaking and sharing this kind of knowledge and wisdom. However, if you have leaders who are more concerned about getting a tithe out of Oliver and out of you, then what are the chances that they're actually going to share that message?
Of course.
I'm glad to have worked with the JB Kilimo Foundation, which was very specific on matters of FGM. And if you look at the statistics of FGM, sadly, a lot of them are in the Muslim areas, especially of the north.
Of Kenya.
Of Kenya, okay, and of course the rest of the country.
Yeah.
I mean, like the rest of the world.
Yeah.
But those are the kind of places that are very hard to penetrate unless you get to the elders. Now, when we have leaders who don't understand the power that they have to communicate this kind of information, and they are only interested in their personal self-aggrandizement, then what is going to happen? So you have to actually, because those are the gatekeepers to those societies. So getting to those societies was very difficult. Dr. JB Kilimo, with all due respect, with whom I worked, did a great job. She was actually the chairperson of the FGM board, appointed by His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta at the time. And as I said, I had the privilege of being able to work with her and supporting work that is in Masai Land, in Samburu, in all these other places.
What's the major challenge of FGM and even HIV and AIDS in your experience? Is it something to do also economics? Is it something to do with the trickle of resources in our family setup? Is it something to do with exposure?
It has to do with culture and cultural beliefs. People have got very negative, stereotypical cultural beliefs. If you use the example of now where Dr. JB Kilimo comes from, which is Marakwet, and I have the privilege of going there severally, there's this belief that if a woman is not cut, she will not be able to get a husband. And you've been brought up in a culture where getting married is very important for women. So since this is a story that is being told to you by your great-grandmother, your grandmother, your mother, it becomes very difficult for you to actually say no. So the alternative is that you either debunk the whole myth and literally risk being chased away from your home, as happened with Dr. JB Kilimo at the time when she said no, or else you just go with the flow. Most people are not strong enough to say no, so they will go with the flow. So these are real challenges that actually exist in our societies, okay? And that's why I was really glad when at the time President Uhuru Kenyatta grabbed that whole thing of running with the FGM thing. And they literally had safe houses and places where people could run to.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, those were availed.
I hope it's still there.
Unfortunately, a lot of those became affected by corruption because you as a
Is it all about funding?
No, it's not all about funding. But let me give an example. If you as a corrupt parent have got 4 daughters, okay, and you're seeing that people who have been threatened with FGM have run to a safe house and are being taken to school.
Fully educated.
Utake kulipa school fees. You tell your daughters, can you jifanya you're also running away, tunataka kukutairi, you go there. So things like that were leading to those kind of resource centers becoming overwhelmed. Not because of actual threats, but because wewe as a father hutaki kulipa.
Threat, yeah.
Hutaki kulipa. So a place like that, I'll just use an example, can maybe handle 100 young girls. And then you're finding they need to cater for 900, and then of course now resources run out because you're having to run to the
and you can't distinguish who is genuine versus who is not.
Very difficult to distinguish who is genuine and who's not genuine. So it is us people as a society who are shooting ourselves in the foot. So those who should basically benefit are failing to benefit because of our own value system of corruption, stealing, and an absolute lack of shame. And yet our statistics are is that 80% of us are supposed to be Christians. How are you therefore proving that you're a Christian when you are the same person who's promoting that kind of
Absolutely.
So these are the
Always
things.
remember that it is the church that killed Jesus.
That's a painful reality. But also remember that they chose Barabbas. So these are some of the human conditions.
It's history. It's a very important history.
Yes.
For people to see.
Yeah, and we do not want to reflect it with our political situation recently.
You want to talk about politics?
No.
I know I don't.
Wait a minute. Hold yours.
I value my life.
Reverend Doctor, there's something important about scholars, and I've seen it over time. There's so much grants, funding, and we have really smart minds around doing credible research.
Yeah.
But that research ends up in either library or just material that, it's somewhere in the website. And especially in Africa, if you go to, developed countries, you'll find research interfacing in the industry products.
Yes.
If you're okay, you can speak on this. How can we interface this brilliant research into our own day-to-day, life. Because I'll give you an example. There was a time I was involved in a research about urban planning, whereby if you design a road, you have to cater for the cyclists, pedestrian, cars, motorbikes, And that actually also speaks to the health, because if you have a path where you can cycle, then rather than driving to work, you can just cycle to work. But that was funded by US, and actually it was implemented somewhere else besides the country where the research was done, which is Kenya. They tried to implement it in some part of Nairobi, but that's it. And even right now, as you speak, there are different expressways, all these roads that are being built, but you don't see that.
Bottom line again goes back to what are our values? What do we value? Okay? What are our paradigms? What are our beliefs? Okay? As and when somebody is able to travel to some of the developed countries, and I'll use the example of the United States, you will not have all these people interfacing at the same point. The cyclist, the motorcyclist, the car, the pedestrian, and whatever. They all have different places, different lanes. You even have dual carriageway roads.
Yes.
Now, come back to us here. You are the MP. Okay? You are sitting on CDF. You have a plan here for a road. You know that there's money for it to be a dual carriageway. You decide to make a single carriageway because you want to eat the money. So what happens? People end up now being mowed down by cars and whatever.
Yes.
Because you have eaten. And that money that you have eaten, you've put it in a Swiss bank account.
Yes.
You've not told anyone, including your wife.
So even when you die,
it remains out there.
It's a build Swiss.
You've said something very important, because even when we are building infrastructure,
Yes.
that's the priority we need to have. A road from, say, one end of the country to the other is, if it's dual carriage completed, the number of lives you save. Like Africa, we need to start measuring value by lives.
I mean, even
improved and
economically
saved.
is like next level.
But you see, you have leaders. Bear in mind, I've just come from Ghana. And one of the things that when you're in Ghana, you can be able to see is kind of places where people were held as slaves because they were shipped out.
Of course.
How were these slaves attained? It is the leaders who actually...
Without the leaders, slavery would never.
That's my point.
Even the white did not colonize us.
Yes.
They used proxies, our own brothers
Our
and
own
sisters,
leaders,
to colonize us.
In exchange of salt, sugar,
Yes, and
glass,
and
mirrors.
Yes. So now, with all due respect,
Yeah.
that kind of leadership situation has not changed.
Absolutely.
Right now, we with our SGR, SGR should be dual carriageway.
And you are saying, you're the guy who was in NAC Kenya. Or is in NAC Kenya.
And I still am. And
Yes,
as dual carriageway, you should be able to have as many trains as necessary plying that route. And secondly, that same train should have gone all the way to Malaba, with all due respect. And then we should have had another part that's going all the way to Nyeri.
With a side-by-side road.
Exactly. But now, because we have leaders who are more concerned about lining their pockets, and they don't care how much blood it costs in terms of people dying, so that you can be able to get $1 billion into your pocket and into your kitty.
Which actually you don't need in your lifetime.
What is the difference between you and that chief who was selling his own people or selling the people from the
For
other
sugar.
avenue?
Maybe
For
you're
sugar.
worse.
Yeah. And they come and they raid the slaves.
And soap.
So some of us right now are busy, I'm sorry to say, pointing a finger at the queen. Because we do not want to accept our own responsibility as African leaders who facilitated,
colonization,
provided, and supported it. Because we were able to benefit.
Though the queen is not innocent at all. So.
No, we're not talking about the queen being innocent per se.
Just
But
to
I'm
be
just trying to say,
God save the king.
Teddy will be quiet on this one.
as you point one finger out, how many other fingers are pointing at you?
For sure.
Yes.
So when we choose now to sanitize this thing by only blaming this late person who was passed on, and we choose not to take responsibility for our own part, for our own
because by the time the slaves were arriving at the port, they had to come from the hinterland.
Yes.
And history tells us that even some chiefs began to exert very inhuman punishment just to be able to make the numbers to sell their brothers.
There we go.
You would be, maybe you're hungry and you stole someone's chicken.
Yes.
You would end up being a slave.
Yeah.
These are, and the funny thing is, no one talks about this. I don't know if Africa has healed from that reality.
No, people are traumatized.
It has just been
changed it. Yeah, he has been changed from one form to another.
People who fought for freedom, they didn't enjoy it. Until today, even their generation are suffering.
There we go.
You see, so there is all that conversation to have
Trauma.
among many others.
Yeah.
But in a nutshell, I would like each and everyone to give a parting shot to our listeners and our viewers as we conclude this. But this is one of many.
We're coming to Dubai. We haven't asked him about Dubai. Why is he going to Dubai?
By the way,
that should be in your conclusion.
I have so many questions. Even
Yes.
because you see, as a man, it's unfortunate that we're home men. I think we need to.
We will diversify the
I thought Anne was supposed to be here. I don't know why you
even
guys chased
Fiona,
her
you'll
away.
start seeing
besides
them in the
point,
other
but
podcast.
the point here is
Gender sensitivity.
I wanted
Absolutely.
to ask.
Yes.
That's my personal question. Like, how do you choose the right partner? Because that also determines if you succeed or fail.
Oh, it determines if you will be poor or rich, for sure. No jokes.
Maybe we asked that in Dubai, right?
We are coming to Dubai, bro.
So I shouldn't answer it now.
You don't have to.
Yeah,
but
but
if you want to answer, please.
I'm going to Dubai because my
As
wife,
your parting shot.
my wife is working there. I have the privilege of this absolutely wonderful lady called Mukami, who has agreed to be my friend, my partner, my companion, and my lover. Okay, so when you're asking about how do you make that choice, first of all, is that person a friend? Can they be a companion? Can they be a partner before they become a lover? Most of us, unfortunately, we go from 0 to 100, so we go from
Very fast.
we go straight to the lover part.
It's called a microwave generation.
Yes, the
So
person.
now it's even the TikTok generation.
Yeah, so the person is not your friend. Okay, you hook up so that you can enjoy certain pleasures.
Privileges of marriage.
But you can't have the kind of conversation we're having here. We've been here for 3 hours and we're having fun with each other. Now, imagine having this kind of fun with this person who makes your heart really beat. Okay, so I have that kind of a person. I am so happy and grateful for the opportunity of just spending time with her and spending life with her, doing life with her as a friend first, then as a companion, then as a partner, then from there as a lover. Okay, now if you do not have the skills to build good friendships in the first place, then you will make the kind of mistakes many of us make as almost the norm, and that's why the divorce rate is so high. You end up in a situation where someone who you don't even like.
You start at the last part.
Yeah, or you see, romance, whether you like it or not, is going to last for maybe a week, 2 weeks, a month, 2 months. If you're very lucky, 6 months, a year, okay, and then it will fade off.
Yeah.
So if that's the only foundation you have of getting together with somebody, and it's a diminishing resource.
Oh dear.
In fact, there's
Economics
diminishing returns.
101.
The more there's diminishing utility and there's diminishing returns.
Wow.
After a year or so, you'll be wondering how the
What's
heck am I
up?
with this person? Yeah, what's up? And of course, you'll hit the exit door looking for somebody else who can titillate you. So you as a man need to learn how to be able to have friendships that work. Friendships. Friendships that work does not mean that you're always going to agree. Sometimes you will disagree and sometimes you will fight. And that's one of the reasons why I'm proud to have this gentleman on my right-hand side here. Because if there's any one person who has held my feet to the fire, in Aspen when he took me there, in South Africa when we've gone to South Africa, in Ethiopia when we've been there, in Nigeria, this man even gave up his bed in Nigeria for me.
Shall I hear an amen?
Amen.
And I also said, so curious.
I remember. That's so crazy.
So imagine if you're doing this with somebody who's also making your heart
To make money.
Yes.
And by the way, on that we talk about that trip because we missed our flight. And then we went to talk to this Kenyan guy who was running Lafarge in Lagos.
Yes.
And then he was like, you guys, I'll pay your flights. It was quite funny. Okay, continue.
So you need to get friends like this that you're happy to walk with.
Sure.
And you have something in common. You see, like Teddy and I, we enjoy the mentorship space, developing leaders. We enjoy it, okay? So anytime he'll invite me for something that has to do that, man, I will run for it. I will stop doing all sorts of other things and be there, and vice versa. So that's why when he invited me for this opportunity, despite the fact that I'm catching a flight in I don't know how many hours, for me it's important to be here. So do you have somebody like that of the other persuasion for whom you have something that holds you together and you will be passionate about that objectively before you can even look at each other? You can walk parallel with each other as you celebrate that.
Yes,
A lot of us don't do that. And when you don't do that, when you don't have a friend, let me tell you, when you get to our advanced ages,
You'll be as someone who didn't have someone.
who is this? And especially now when the kids grow up, like now in our case, now Christy is in the US. Now you're going to be finding yourself in a house with a stranger. You'll be wondering, who is this and why am I with them? But if you have a friendship and the friendship can grow, okay, and then you have goals and things that you want to do together as friends, then it works. So, for example, she flew into Ghana for Michael's wedding.
Nice.
Okay, she caught a flight on Friday night, arrived there on Saturday morning, the morning of the wedding. We enjoyed the wedding, and then, Sunday evening, she caught her flight back to Dubai, arriving in Dubai 5 a.m. so that she can go straight to work. I mean, this is a person who spent her weekend traveling. But it was important enough because she understands the value of mentorship.
Yeah.
She understands the value that Michael is to all of us, and she wanted to celebrate with us. Other people say, apana. No, come on. So many other issues. So, let me challenge you to consider that.
Yes,
Look
yes.
at your Rolodex. We used to call them Rolodex. Look at all the available chicks. You probably got 20 you can look at. Oliver, 20. You. And then ask, out of all those, who are my friends?
Yes.
Who can I actually walk with for the next 10 years, for a lifetime? Who can I change and grow with?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because some people are meshafika, they can't grow.
That's a very interesting point.
They can't grow. They can't grow mentally. They can't grow emotionally. For those of us who come from western part of the country, if you found somebody nice from central, they don't go past Limuru. So, can somebody grow and learn?
Yes.
That makes a very big difference.
Yes.
Because we're always going to be changing and growing. Grow together.
Yes.
That's my parting shot.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Welcome.
Teddy, parting shot.
Thank you, Julius, for honoring Africa's talking and us today, because Africa is the origin of speech, is the origin of stories, and we want to bring it back to Africa and keep it in Africa.
Yeah.
For the important point you said about partnership and friendship, for those who are entering into marriage or are contemplating to marry, I wish that all of you would have a shared vision and also shared values.
Yeah.
So that you can grow a robust and happy home, which is the basis of a strong Africa. I fundamentally believe in that. I also, out of everything that I've also been shared here today, is that the power of compound interest. So I was very fortunate that from the time I was 8 years old, I used to sing for President Daniel Arap Moi.
Baba.
Baba Moi. And I met Ambassador Aurelia Brazil, the then U.S. ambassador to Kenya, who those days, when I was 10, I used to wear a Kalui's box style. And so she kissed me on both my cheeks. She lifted me up, a very tall American. I think she's now 80 years old.
Wow. Yeah.
But the reason why I'm saying that is that Moi helped me also become supremely self-confident. Because in 1988, when he was celebrating 10 years of his
Nyayo.
era, he actually...
That guy was visionary, man.
Exactly. Invited one, Ibrahim Babangida, IBB, was very flamboyant. So I met him, I met Siad Barre and all that. So all my life, I've always wanted to give people what I was given in large measure. Because I was a member of AIC Church in my earlier days. And they used to take us to a place called Diguna for children's camp. They used to pour their hearts to us as youngsters and all that. And life can be made more beautiful and powerful if the older people share their experiences to the younger people in a continuous way. In our home, I grew up with 8 brothers and 8 sisters. I'm number 10. I'm more or less in the middle. And I always watched what they did. And sometimes I didn't ask questions, but I just watched. And because of that, I'm able to create things in an impossible way. Because I'm a sub-total of who they are, who all of them are. So the goal is that we should not shy, as we speak today, of building a more powerful Africa. And the way you build a more powerful Africa is not that you look you look at China or the US and say, gosh, we want to copy what these guys are doing. Because if you knew well about these two societies, there are some things that you don't even want to imitate from them.
A lot of mistakes were made.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And a lot of lives are also lost.
Yes.
But we can create something out of Africa that even the world will yearn to have once again, because the fundamental thing is that, as Steve Biko said, the world may be facing an industrial or military industrial revolution, but every human being is yearning for the face and soul of Africa.
Yeah.
So why don't we just bring them back as our children?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Teddy.
Wow. Yeah. This has been amazing. My parting shot, number one, we are coming to Dubai. Just give us a date around November, December.
The World Cup, so that might be your excuse to come there.
To flow. I know it'll be somewhere in the Emirates, Qatar.
Qatar, yes.
But actually, I personally want to come for the Formula One in Abu Dhabi. So I will align myself to attend Abu Dhabi Grand Prix.
Yes.
So thank you so much. So my parting shot, number one, we're coming. Number two, I believe in an Africa of pleasant surprises. What do I mean? Before the world said that women should be given a place at the table, women were running households in Africa.
They were
This
kings.
is
queens,
they
I
were
mean.
kings. This is pre-colonialism. Before they said that we be more inclusive. And remember, the US is just celebrating how many years since the women began voting?
Suffrage from the 60s.
Yes, the 1960s. That's when the women were allowed to start voting.
Yes, yes.
Can you believe that? We had Kinjeketile Ngware taking men
Leading
to war.
people, yeah.
We had Wangwa Makeri. And that's just Kenya. We haven't talked about Ethiopia. You know, we haven't talked about Rwanda. We haven't talked about Egypt.
Ethiopia, we had a queen.
Yes.
Who Queen Elizabeth
Yes.
and Prince Philip were bowing to.
Bowing to. It's actually in the African archives. Yes.
Majesty.
So I believe in an Africa of pleasant surprises. When the world was discussing, can we be more inclusive? Africa was telling you, and that's how we got colonized, by the way, one of the ways. When the white man came, we were giving them food. Even we gave them a place to sleep, and they were allowed to choose a wife for the time they were here. Why? This is very important. Africans' traditional society. Because Africans believed that if a stranger visited you, you give him a place to sleep, you give them food, and they can choose a wife. Hopefully they can sire a kid with. So that when they go, if they think of raiding you, they remember they have children there. This is African traditional society wisdom.
Amazing stuff. Yeah.
Yes. So before the world thought of inclusivity, we were inclusive.
Yeah.
That's the only way these guys could have come in here. Of course, definitely, I won't be simplistic. You have the smallpox scourge and all the other things that accompanied the coming in, right? So Africa, I believe in a Africa of pleasant surprises.
Yes.
And the last thing is that I believe in an Africa where there's enough and we
Abundance.
can abundance. And this is my recommendation to ACAD. If we can begin to teach negotiation, storytelling to the startups, I think it will be very worth the time.
Yes.
And we will see a huge growth in value. Because I think a lot of the startups in Africa don't know
How to
negotiate,
Yes.
how to tell their stories, to attract even the funding that is here.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Graham. My parting shot is that life itself is a negotiation.
Oh, nice.
And thank you so much, Reverend Dr. Julius Weche, for gracing these amazing podcasts and vlog. Vlog is a video blog of Africa's Talking in collaboration with Impact Masters podcasts.
Absolutely.
And this is the first of the many. So as Graham pointed out, we might come to Dubai towards the end of the year, and we want you to enjoy your stay there And thank you so much. May God bless you and everyone else who is listening to us.
Sudanese clap for you.
Cheers! That's nice.